What is up, nerds, geeks, and gamers? It's Rage, and today I'm going to be talking about what I hope they do with Eday. I've been a big fan of Gears of War since I was a child. It's one of the first three games I remember ever playing, and it's also the first series I ever played multiplayer for on Xbox 360 for Gears of War 3. I really love the series. It is near and dear to my heart. And even though 4 and 5 were not that good in my opinion, I'm still happy I had a co op game to play with my friends. And I thought there were some interesting ideas to be had with 4 and 5, especially because they deal with the future of the series, what happens after the locusts, etc., etc. Now, for E Day, I'm gonna say right now that as someone who read the books, there are a few things I hope they show us. Like, I hope they keep the backstory of Coltrane, where he actually joins a little bit after E Day because his parents were killed during the beginning stages of the war. The city his parents lived in was one of the first cities hit. There's also a lot of stuff to do with like the stranded that I hope we get to see, since we know a little bit about them, but not too much. And I also hope that this game will show us um, the Hammer of Dawn, when they did the Hammer of Dawn protocol and destroyed like 90% of the surface of their planet. There's, a lot of backstory actually in regards to some of the characters we meet throughout the games, and even the characters that we play as well. So I'm really hoping they keep a lot of that intact, as much of that as they possibly can keep intact. But that's enough about that. Now let me talk about what I hope to see from the game. As someone who has been a big fan of Gears of War, I've honestly always wanted a like horror survival game out of the series, because let's be real, the locusts are scary. Eday was terrifying, and being just a regular Joe Schmo, not a cog, having to survive the Hammer of Dawn strikes and the locusts is absolutely terrifying. I would probably die, to be honest with you. I would probably be some of the many people who were killed before the first year was even over. With that being said, obviously I know that I assume we're going to be playing as Marcus and Dom, and I assume Coltrane and Bard are going to be joining us eventually. So even though I would hope that they make this game scarier than any of the other games in the series, I also can't expect them to do anything super out there, considering we're playing as those characters and we already know that they survive. Most of them survive until, like 30 years afterwards, 40 years after the Locust War. Um, and obviously, we're going to be playing as the COG, so we have like the entire military thing going for us. And, like, obviously, there's only so much you can do to make things scary when you're playing as buff AF army guys who are gonna eat regular humans in our world for breakfast, because they're all fucking. I think they eat what, like, I think it was like 6,000 calories a day or something like that, 3,000, something extreme. They're eating a ton of calories, and they're fucking big and beefy. They are like they're tough people, right? So it would be hard to find a way for them to make us suspend our disbelief and make the game scary. With that being said, though, I think most of us, if we played Gears of War as children or young adults, teenagers, that there were definitely still some parts that were scary. Off the top of my head, there's like the Berserkers. I thought that running into Lambents was terrifying the first couple of times it happened. Um, Having to see General Rom and his forces attacking. So, like I said, I am someone who's always wanted a horror game out of this series. I really, really, really think that this is a franchise that lends itself well to a horror or survival horror game. There's a couple other series that I also think could do pretty good with that, such as Star Wars and Halo. But Gears of War is really grounded and really gritty, and I'm really hopeful, from the trailer, I'm really hopeful that they will at least do a little bit in regards to making the game a little bit more atmospheric and, scary, horrifying than the previous installments in the franchise. Every game had their, scary parts, but they have a chance to really go hard on that aspect of the series, and I hope they take it. I really do, because I think it would be a very fun, very interesting take on the franchise if they could manage to do so. Now, I think playing as a Stranded lends itself more to the horror aspect of the universe. For one, you were almost murdered by your government. They hammer of dawned the entire continent, and you are lucky to survive. So you obviously don't trust them, and you don't have that network of the army to support you. You're out there alone on your own. Maybe you are part of some settlement, maybe if you're lucky. There's also the fact that most Stranded that we see, in fact, I think every Stranded that we see really, is like, feels like they're 5'4" and 90 pounds. They're not the big, beefy brawn men and women of the cog. So you have that like height difference, that size difference that lends itself well to horror between the Stranded and the Locusts. Even just the regular drones would be huge in comparison to you. Not to mention if you, God forbid, run into a Brumok or a fucking Mauler or something, right? I'd be crapping my pants. I don't know about you guys. I'd be absolutely crapping my pants as a Stranded if I ran into that. And there's also the whole aspect of the fact that you're not like living in a city, right? You're out on your own. You might be part of a small settlement, but you always got to be worried about getting kidnapped or taken by the locusts. There's also, which I think lends itself well to, say, something like a Resident Evil style game where you're constantly trying to run away from one of the locusts who's trying to capture you. Or you could just do straight up horror. You don't got to do survival horror, even though I think this franchise would probably be pretty fun as for survival horror. Running around trying to find um, stashes of ammo and hopefully getting more than your Boltok pistol out. Trying to find a weapon capable of actually damaging the locust instead of like bouncing off their scale armor that they have. Their whatever you want to call what they have. Their scaly skin that is strong enough to stop. In the books, at least in the games, I know you can stab them, but in the books, the lancer bayonets will just glance off their skin basically. So it's just, I would love a horror game set in this franchise. I think that it would be absolutely amazing, and I really hope I'm not the only one who's ever thought about it. I really doubt I am. I really doubt I am, and I hope I'm not the only one who's thought of it. But like, I do believe in Eday. I think it's going to be an amazing game. I think they took some lessons from 4 and 5 as to what people don't like. And, they also have the trilogy as a fantastic basis. They also have the books, and I'm pretty sure the comics probably cover this time period as well, even though I sadly have yet to be able to read them. But yeah, I hope you guys, um, I hope what I'm talking about sounds like something you'd want from this game and from the series as a whole, because I really think they're missing out on not having some sort of horror game. I think it would be a pretty good slam dunk, and I hope that this game gives us a little bit of that atmosphere that the previous games had. Because even 4 and 5, I wouldn't really call them scary in the same way, but they did have some terrifying ideas, like how they're kidnapping humans and literally transforming them into the swarm, versus how the locusts would take them and do, unspeakable acts to them. But like, yeah, I really think that this game is going to be a good one. I definitely think they're going to lean a little bit more into the horror aspect, because at this point in time, it's not like they had years of experience dealing with these enemies. These are new, terrifying creatures that came out of the ground. They are huge. They hate you. They don't speak English or whatever the language that you want to say they speak on Sarah, and they're gunning for you. They're not just targeting the military. It doesn't seem like they are trying to, just conquer land. They are out to get you. They are boogeymen. They will kill you for nothing just because you're human. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know down below if this is something you ever thought about. Let me know if this is something you're interested in, and tell me if you're optimistic about Gears 5 or not. Gears Eday, because I am. They made Gears Reloaded, which I hear good things about. I hear a little bit of mixed things too, but mostly positive. So I definitely think that I think they're gonna knock it out of the park with this one. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you around. Peace.